Janson's long-armed scarab beetle is so rare that people keep thinking it's gone extinct, but they keep finding it again. We're going to talk about that and more fun Janson long-armed scarab beetle facts while we sketch this little long-armed dude. So let's just turn the page and get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on a Sunday morning. Wow, Sunday morning. Where did the weekend go? It's 5:30 in the morning on a Sunday morning. And that is a special time to me because that is when I like to do a little thing where I pull a random object from the Random Object Randomogrifier and I sketch it, I draw it, and we talk about it. And today's random object from the Random Object Randomogrifier is a Janson's long-armed scarab beetle. Now there's a unique feature about this long-armed scarab beetle. I'll give you a few minutes to figure out, a few seconds to guess what that unique feature may be. If you haven't figured it out yet, it's the incredibly long arms. Hence the name, Janson's long-armed scarab beetle. There's Joe. Joe's just passing through, taking the wife to work. Well, good morning, Joe. Thanks for stopping by. Leave us on so that we can make noise in the background for you, if that's possible. But the Janson's long-armed scarab beetle is a scarab. What makes it a scarab is it has the fuzzy things, the fuzzy fingerlets on its antennae that poke out of its head. That is a unique trait to scarabs. And it is native to China, but it's very rare. It's quite the rare animal. It was first named in 1898. Now I don't know. I'm sure they knew of it. I'm sure the locals knew of it well before 1898. But nothing ever matters in zoology until it's taxonomized. So until it's named, it's not truly been discovered, right? And the locals didn't really, as far as documentation goes, the locals didn't really name it. It's just a bug. I'm sure it had a name. I'm sure they called it like Steve or something. But the truth of the matter is that as far as the English-speaking world is concerned, until it was named officially in 1898, there's no proof of its existence. I'm going to have to make some exceptions here about getting the size of the body and the long arms all on the same page. This really should be sticking out, and I could make the body smaller, but I don't want to, because this thing is 2.5 inches long. In real life, the body is 2.5 inches long and 1 inch wide. So the size and shape that I'm drawing is pretty close to life size. The model is a Toy Monty model. The model is pretty close to life size. They're 2.5 inches long by about 1 inch wide, and their front legs are longer than their entire body. They use their front legs as mate grabbers. Me too, little dude. Me too. They they use their front legs to grab and hold on to mates. What they'll do is they'll go to the hole in the wood where the female will have been dug in, and they will poke their little arms inside the hole and encourage the female to come out. And when she comes out, they will grab hold of her and use their long arms to hold her down while they mate. She will wrestle. She doesn't like being pinned down, but that is part of the process to prove that you are worthy of mating in the bug world. In the real world, in the human world, there are laws. And my wife gets violent about being pinned down. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The moving on. They can't find another use for the arms, though. The arms, they might use them as a mechanism to push off a competing mate, maybe for territorialism. You can't say they're for display because they don't really have that good a vision. I mean, there's just not really any other good documented use for them besides catching and pinning a mate. And they are elusive. These things are not what you would call wildly successful. They are, honestly, there were several people that thought they were extinct many times over, but they keep showing up. They keep being rediscovered. They are so elusive that China has them on the protected species list as a Class 2 protected species. Excuse me.
Is China its main habitat?
China and Southeast Asia are its only habitat. There are 10 different species of this animal, but 2 of them are specific to China and are protected species, Class 2 protected species. Now, a Class 2 protected species means that its habitat and its habitat is protected from destruction, and the bug itself, when discovered, is noted and protected, but you don't have to go looking for it. A Class 1 protected species is like a panda, where if you're actively looking for pandas before you mow down a bamboo field, before you destroy a bamboo forest to develop a land area, you have to actively seek out. You have to do an active survey to make sure that there are no pandas on the land. You don't have to do that with this. But if this is discovered on the land, then you have to stop. So it's a Class 2 species, Class 2 conservation species.
So you can destroy their habitat.
As long as you don't know they're there. Once you know they're there, you have to preserve their habitat. Now, keeping in mind that China is a communist country, the government is all industry. There is no harm, no foul as far as the government is concerned. As far as if an official finds one of these things, there's no loss of profit to the official. Just say we can't build here because there's a bug that needs protection. In the U.S., we're capitalist. If we are doing surveys and we find a bug on a property that we have purchased, it is a major ordeal to say we are no longer allowed to develop the property that we have purchased because there's a bug there, and people balk at the idea of it, as though the bug didn't have a right to be there. But in China, they do have, they'll have a bureaucrat, and we use that word like it's an ugly thing, because it is in the U.S. But they'll have a bureaucrat whose job it is to determine if the area is free of protected species before they commence building, and he has every incentive to ensure that there's nothing there, because if anything's there found later, he's held criminally liable. So he has every incentive to ensure that whatever protected animals might be in the area are discovered.
Big eyes.
He has bug eyes. He does. He has bug eyes.
Can't see that.
He has a reflective shell, so like we talked about yesterday, it's either shiny or it's not. There's no texture to make a gradient of shading. It's either in shadow or it's not. So I'm trying to get the core shadows in place. Because then you have to color the whole thing. Then you have to texturize the whole thing as green, because it's not white, so it can't be the brightest thing on the page. This one I don't think is going to be done at 6. This is a really good Sunday sketch. Where were we? We almost covered all the facts. Subtle hint. We almost covered all the facts already. They live 2 to 3 years as grubs before coming out of the ground as adults. And then they only live a couple of months as adults. I don't know if they have any substantial presence in the pet industry like the other scarab beetles do. I don't recall seeing anything about that.
I think they're popular in the exotic pet area.
Are they?
so. I think I read that.
I don't know. I didn't see that, so I don't know. I don't know that. But I'm sure if you saw it, I'm sure it's there.
It's on your makeup up there. Chromosomes.
Oh yeah. Because they went through Project Genome in 2026. The idea being that once they know the genetic makeup of the animal, they can determine more about its habitat needs and its mating habits and the like. But they completed Project Genome with it in 2006. I'm sorry, 2026. So they know how many chromosomes there are. They know how many, as close as they can get with the current technology. There's the current technology is good, but it's not good enough that we can write chromosomes, that we can write DNA. So it's not like we could take a blank slate and make our own bug.
I don't know. I can't drink.
It is, like I said, it is another one of those animals though that spends 2 years underground, 2 to 3 years underground, and then emerges as an adult for a very short period of time, 2 to 3 months as an adult. So that its long arms can come into use just for a very short period of time. Can't talk, Artie. This different color, this brown color stripe against this dark green back is hard to illustrate because it's not white. I don't want it to appear white, but it's not green either. So I need it to appear like a different color. And just like the reflections here, I need that reflection to be way brighter than the area around it. but I don't want it white. But I have to be careful not to make this part of it as dark as that part, because it's a different color green. And not as dark as the shadows.
This should have been a good watercolor.
It would have been a fantastic watercolor. I think that I've thought that every day since we stopped doing watercolors. I don't know why whose idea was it to stop doing watercolor?
Have we done our 30 days yet?
The only reason I'm doing it this way is because I felt like my drawing skills were suffering because I was spending all of my effort trying to make sure that when I drew, when I would draw, I would draw with the idea that I was going to paint it, and so I didn't focus on the details as much as I focused on getting it ready for color. Matter of fact, I would make just as few pencil marks as possible and say that's enough pencil and move on. And I still feel that way. I'm looking at it right now going, okay, that's enough pencil. I still feel exactly that same way. I bought some fixative. What did I do with it? Did I not bring it out here? Dang it. I have to get the fixative later. We won't be able to. I've been using to seal the graphite to keep it from smearing. I've been using either Krylon or Rust-Oleum matte enamel, and that'll work in a pinch, but it seems to dull the image. It grays everything down, and I don't really like it. So I went ahead and bought some matte enamel last night. And I think I left it on the dining room table, so I'm sure my wife has pleasant words for me about that. But if so, I'll just reach out with my long arms and wrap her up. I'm teasing, I wouldn't dare. She would pummel me. Yeah, I think that's all the facts I had about these things. We can talk about anything else you want to talk about now. We can talk about my new personal air conditioner that I made last night.
Yeah.
We can talk about scarabs in general. One of that, which is like the largest class of beetles on the planet. But I took a box fan last night, wrapped a copper tube around the back side of it, coiled a copper tube around the back side of it, and hooked up a garden pump with some ice water. And so there's ice water flowing through the copper tube tied to the back of the fan. And the fan is blowing air across that copper tube, and it may only lower the temperature of the air 2 to 5 degrees, but it is a noticeable 2 to 5 degrees, and I am quite pleased with it.
The temperature's a killer right now.
I'm telling you, it is 5 o'clock in the morning, almost 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's already over 80 degrees outside.
My little weather thing on my phone says it's supposed to get to 103 today.
I will be glad when the hot season is over. We are almost out of the hot season and into the not as hot season. Houston has 2 seasons. We have the hot season and the not as hot season. And I will be immensely overjoyed when it is finally time for the not as hot season.
You know, I've said this before. I have 6 other days of the week I can run my errands besides Saturday. But I choose not to do that. I put that days of working outside of the home. Saturdays when you run your errands.
Okay.
Lord of mercy, it was hot yesterday doing that.
Yeah.
But I'm also one that I don't like to go out just for one trip. If I have several things I need to do, I save them so I can do them all on the same day.
I get that. My new thing that I'm going to try today is that as soon as the show is finished, I'm going to go do the grocery shopping. Because the grocery store is open at 6 in the morning. And I hate being in the crowd. And there's no other time of day that it is not crowded. And so I'm going to go do the grocery shopping here in a little bit. I'm going to go get my donut. And then I'm going to go do my grocery shopping. And it'll just be me and everybody over 80.
That's what I did yesterday. I had my sewing class, and so I called and I picked up most of my groceries on the way home. You know, I just have to drive up and let them get it in my car.
Right.
Then I have one store where I go where they have the sales that I like. It's just hot. Plus I'm hurrying, so if I didn't have to hurry, it wasn't as bad.
Yeah, I get that. My family kept me out late last night. Nobody wanted to come home. And so we went to, we've got a busted toilet upstairs that's needed a new valve fitting. And so we went to Lowe's. I went to Lowe's and got a new valve fitting for the toilet upstairs. And dropped the family off at Half Price Books. My daughter had some books she needed to rehome, so she loaded them up and took them to Half Price Books to sell, which is a traumatic experience for her because nobody in my family likes to give up books. But she managed to get to the book rescue and rescue a handful of other books. You know, she's got, what's that? Spend all your time waiting. I forget who that musician is that does the pet shelter music. But the many.
If any of us ever builds a new home studio with one huge room, if you go into the house as a library.
But all I can hear is that, like it's a dog shelter. See, I'm not sure a library would be the biggest room in my house anymore.
No, but it wouldn't for her.
There was a time in my life when I could have been abducted by Beast from Beauty and the Beast and been perfectly content to roam around the castle with a library like that. And, yeah, I'll be your belle. There was a time in my life that held a lot of sway for me. And now these days I find myself walking into Barnes and Noble just bored. I used to live in Barnes and Noble and Borders. I used to absolutely live in those stores.
Is it because your interest have changed, or because you can read it on an e-reader?
It may be a little bit of both. It may be the fact that the artists that I was following at the time don't write anymore. Gene Al, Jim Butcher. Jim Butcher still writes, but he's not writing Dresden Files as much. It may very well be, but it may very well be just the fact that the authors that I've followed aren't writing as much. Anne Rice is dead. You know, she was putting out a new book every couple of years. But you're having that problem too?
And one of the ones I've followed for years, her latest ones in this series is they're written for, elementary. They're not as deep and not as interesting to me.
J.K. Rowling.
I don't want a book that. I don't know how to say this, but I want a book that.
You want sex and violence in your pirate novel.
No.
Yeah.
No. That's in a murder. But I don't want it written. Like C.J. Run. I want it to have a larger vocabulary. I want it to be gripping. And my hands are all getting old.
We've seen a murder, boys and girls. Can you say murder? I thought that you could. If you look over here, you might find blood spatter. Can you say blood spatter? We use blood spatter to determine foul play. Now, foul play doesn't mean that there's ducks involved. Foul play in this sense means that it's like a foul ball, something that's not supposed to happen. You don't like that kind of book? It's not.
Boy, and opposing murders, and I'm like, those two words don't even go together.
Blues Clues Mysteries.
Yeah, opposing murders. There's no. That's just me. I find if it doesn't have a more different group of language, of words, I will get bored with the simple words of C.J. Run, and I'll speed read over it and not pay attention to it.
I was told the other day that I needed to dial back my vocabulary. That my vocabulary was intimidating to people. And I thought, how is that my problem?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with a rural Oklahoma education, and you think my vocabulary is the problem? What does that say about your vocabulary?
Was this person serious?
They were, actually, but they weren't anybody that I'm concerned about. I mean, let me rephrase that. I am concerned about them, but I'm not going to change my vocabulary based on their experience.
That's part of who you are.
Yeah.
That's why we developed those little phrase. That's a big word, Elmo.
That's from Sesame Street.
Well, we picked it up. Sometimes we have to stop and think about what we say.
That's a big word. That's a big word for Elmo. Oh my goodness. If you've ever struggled with vocabulary, with people saying that your vocabulary was too big and intimidating, I would like to hear from you. Please drop a message in the chat. Also, if you're watching, please drop a message in the chat. Let us know you're there. Tell us where you are in the world. I love to keep a little mental note of where all people are watching from. You're not supposed to end a sentence with a preposition like from, but again, rural Oklahoma education.
I find it harder to do as I get older.
Well, you know the joke. The Southern girl, the Southern belle, was at her first college dinner, debutante dinner, and they were introducing everybody around, and she stops and she says, "So where's everybody from?" And the one gal in charge laughs and she says, "Well, we're from someplace where we don't end our sentences with a preposition." And the Southern belle responds with, "Oh, I'm sorry. Let me try again. Well, where are y'all from? Which?" Except she didn't say which.
Yeah.
Where are y'all from, you witch? Who are you calling a cootie queen, you liquor? Nobody will catch that. That was a commercial back in the 90s. Dirty mouth, clean it up. We're almost finished. We just have this last little bit of drop shadow to go.
Yeah, it's a good thing we got him today.
Right? This would have been a horrible thing to have on a Monday because it's 15 after.
We'll have to be. I don't know what you do because you draw at random. So I don't know how you can be more careful when you decide to draw because you're not given a choice.
Well, I can make it smaller on a weekday. I can take. I'm taking extra time today. I'm giving it the extra special treatment today. I'm giving it extra special treatment today. This is a subject matter I love to draw, so I'm spending more time with it today than I normally would anyway. I could have stopped a long time ago. Ah. but I'm especially fond of this subject. I'm out of lead. That's why I can't keep my lead. How does that keep happening? I feel like we just put lead in this pencil. It's like my fountain pens suddenly needing ink much more frequently. How does that keep happening?
They're going to think you've forgotten it.
I actually have a different pencil, the different 4B pencil we could use, but it doesn't give me as sharp a tip, as sharp a point, so I don't get as accurate. But I could use it for the large scale things like shading, and then just come in with this one for the details.
Did you just sit and practice on a blank piece of paper doing that back?
Well, right now I'm scumbling.
Right.
And scumbling
I don't know how to do that.
scumbling is really just scribbling. You're just going back and forth in different directions, trying to make sure that all of the paper is covered. When I was doing the back of the beetle, however, I was trying to very carefully not go in random directions, because we're trying to preserve the illusion of color and texture. And if you go in the same direction, if you scribble all different directions all the time, you lose the illusion. If for instance, if you color something in smoothly, carefully, and all of your strokes go left or right, and then you put an object next to it, and you smoothly and carefully shade it in, but with all your strokes going up and down, then when you look at it later, it will appear as though they are different colors and textures.
I'm back right.
Oh.
You're back now.
But changing the direction of your strokes changes the perceived color and texture of your monotone object.
Interesting.
So on the drop shadow, I'll scumble. I'll just scribble until all of the indication of color is gone. Subtle hint. And then on the beetle itself, I try to keep all the shading going in the same direction, so that you get the indication that it's one color versus another color. And then you can scumble in the shadows and build up texture in the shadows. See, his back is a little more granular than his head. So his head appears shiny. I guess that's the thorax. This is the head down here. But the head and the thorax are made up of the same type of material. Anyway, I think I'm going to call that done. I need to sign it in vermilion for Pamela Everybody keep Pamela and Rick on your thoughts today as Rick goes through his ordeal with his kidneys. Today is the 23rd of August, 2026. So the vermilion's for Pamela. The hair drying is for Ivy, and the dancing is for Claudia. Because there's nothing to dry. It's just graphite. I don't know what I did with my fixative. I guess I left it on the kitchen table. So we'll use the hairspray. We'll use the matte enamel one more time, and then I'll have the. They're typing the yeehaw for Claudia. And then we'll use the matte enamel one more time, and then we'll have the workable fixative out here tomorrow. So everybody put your mask on. You need a mask if you're going to use spray paint in the studio. It's very important to wear a mask. You want to make sure that you protect your breathing and you don't breathe the fumes. Okay, you can take your masks off. I'm done. So let's just see here. There it is compared to the photograph. Let's see it from my perspective. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see it. Let's see it from my perspective. So there it is. There it is from my perspective. So that's what I did today. Tomorrow, what do we have tomorrow? What is it? What is it? What is it? Whatever could it be? Oh! We've done this one before, but I think it was 6 months ago. I think it was more than 6 months ago. The suspense. It's the suspense. This is... I think we determined this to be a river otter. Because sea otters eat sea urchins most of the time. So because he has a fish, I think we determined this to be a river otter. So we'll do Steve the River Otter tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Texas time. So you are going to want to set your notification bell so you don't miss that. But otherwise, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I do look forward to this every day. Joe, thanks for stopping by earlier. Mom, Dad, as always, thank you for your help. I do look forward to this every day when I get to art with my besties. Yeah, it holds me accountable to my art practice, and it's often the only art I get to do in a day. So thank you so much. Be sure and tune in tomorrow. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing. Because when they see me dancing, I will know that the lag is caught up to the stream, and I won't get cut off mid-sentence. Gives you a chance to click the clicky thingy so that you can watch another exciting video just like this one. Gives everybody a chance to say hello and goodbye to each other.